Hello and welcome to Graceful Connections presented by Academy for the Soul. I'm your host, Sophie Bidard, and the co-creator of Graceful Connections together with Christel Hughes, founder of Academy for the Soul, the online school for intuitive arts, who is also blessing us with her presence and her brilliance today as the very first guest speaker, expert speaker of our new series of Graceful Connections. This is an adventure of exploration, discovery, healing, liberation, growth, and truthful expression, which is facilitated, amplified, magnified, and blessed really with grace. As graceful connections are woven between you and our expert speakers, your guides into gracefully catalyzing your intuition. Thank you for being with us and bringing your unique vibration, colors, and energetic imprint without which something would be missing. Thank you for answering yes to the calling of grace and the calling of 6D magnetic intuition, which is what Christel will be sharing with us about today, and that's very intriguing for sure. So let's begin. I invite you to relax and take a few deep breaths. Breathing out all that does not belong to this moment. Let's bring all of your attention and your presence here and now. We set our intention that our time together, all that is shared in words and beyond the words, all the energies that we call in and flow serve our highest good, our evolution, and be of service to the highest good of all. I invite you to open your heart, or open it even more, and be ready to receive. And to open your mind, or open it even more, and be ready to receive. Activating your connection to the new earth crystalline grid, and your connection to galactic center, the center of truth. You are held, both grounded and suspended. You are safe, relaxed, and ready, and open to receive. Now I'm calling the orb of grace from the heart of the universe. And placing the orb of grace around our group, our gathering, and each and every one of us. That we be held in the orb of grace and infused with grace all along our time together. Let's take a moment to adjust to the purity and the subtle high frequency of grace, allowing it to gracefully dissolve, realign, harmonize, amplify, magnify all that needs to be so, in purest alignment with divine will and the divine order of grace. And breathe. Beautiful. Now within the orb of grace, I'm delighted to welcome our expert speaker, multi-dimensional visionary, holographic high priestess, and multisensory intuitive Christel Hughes, who will offer fascinating insights about magnetic intuition, harnessing 6D energies for multidimensional channeling. It is such a blessing to have you with us today, Christel. Welcome.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you so much for having me and everyone. I can feel the energy. You're such a blessing. How sweet this space is. And yes, open your mind. I think that's going to be the key. How about we just open it up to the point where it's just kind of blown, So it's thank you very much, mind, but now we've got to put our intuition hat on and really allow ourselves to be in such an expanded space of awareness right now, as these things occur through our transformational cycles. They're so personal to us. These moments where we're in touch with magic as light that comes through in these interviews, right? These moments are moments where your higher self and your guides, your galactic teams have placed you in a space where you're getting information as light, and this is what you've been asking for. You've been asking for the information. You've been asking for the understanding. So we're talking today about magnetic intuition. We're going to talk a little bit about how it all works and how do we gain that. What have we already been through to get to this point, and where are we going?
Where are we going? Yes, absolutely. Now, before we dive into this, I want to let everybody know that, Christel, you're going to offer live intuitive readings today. And we're always in awe with your lightning fast and laser focused readings that go directly to the core of the issue of what's going on. So that's going to be fun and very revealing. So everyone, to request your reading, press *2 on your phone or click raise hand on the web to get on the line with Christel, or place your request in the Q&A box on the web. And the question to ask for your reading is, what degree am I utilizing my magnetic intuitive 6D abilities? So that's going to be a bit later. For now, let's dive into our fascinating topic. And I'd like to begin with asking you, Christel, simply, what is magnetic intuition?
Yes, what is that magnetic intuition? And I'm going to answer this from the heart because there's so many layers, and that's what we're going to be discussing today, is really having the depth of understanding around this. But if I could talk about magnetic intuition, it's actually more of a phenomenon that occurs within your being. And what I have actually experienced, I think this is why, my illumination story plays such a role for this, but recently having this experience of magnetic intuition where we start to play with the cosmic undercurrents of energy, these waves of cosmic light, as they move through our being, having already created a specific type of container within the innermost of our heart, we can start to weave these energies in a way where there's a fusion of our masculine and feminine energies, not discounting the vibrational magnetism of the two polarities, but honoring them. And in that way, we actually gain a more unified type of light as intuition, or intuition as light, right? And those can be interchanged. So when we're talking about bringing light through our being, that's light as truth that stimulates our intuitive nature. And so in being a magnetic intuitive, we have honored this process, and we are surrendered enough, we are humble enough to allow that to play within us, and to surrender to that is so magical, what comes out of it. Now, having said that, some of it you won't quite understand yet, right? Some of it you're going to be like, what does that mean? And that's okay. That's okay to be there. It's okay if you don't always understand everything that I'm saying right now, because your soul does. Your soul understands it. This is a revealing conversation, right? This is something that has existed that we've discovered, and now we're revealing it to your human self. And so we have to give a little bit of context here for your mind to really start to say, wow, what's the value of this information, right? Because that's what you're looking for. Your human self is saying, what's the value? What does this mean to me? How am I going to increase my intuitive abilities? How am I going to live on purpose? What am I going to do with this information, right? And there's a beingness that we have to drop into. And when we're looking at this, we have to look at the struggles that we've been having. Many have been struggling with just simply their extrasensory intuition. And extrasensory intuition is really the fourth dimension, right? The third, we start to understand intuition is expressed through kind of spatial awareness, the ability to navigate the three-dimensional space, right? And just making sense of kind of tangible experiences, practical experiences. What does that mean for me, right? Again, utilizing your intuition for premonition and those kinds of things. But when we go to that fourth dimension and we're utilizing the dimensions as this context and as this framework and structure, we start to recognize that out of this experience of just this main senses that we have, we actually start to understand the order of our intuition, how we work that, and starting to be able to use the extra abilities of that. In other words, instead of just saying, well, I'm a clairvoyant or I have the ability to know, we start to understand, well, how do we use our vision ability with our knowing? How do we use our clairsentience with our clairaudience? In what order? And so as an extrasensory intuitive, you would know that and you would naturally do that. And then what's happening is our soul is saying, okay, we've done that 4D and now we need to move to this fifth dimension, right? We've been working on that for a while, but as we move up into the next phase, we start to get out of the struggle of the mind questioning, confused, trying to logicalize, if you will, right? Everything. Making that intuition logical. And I just had it, the other day I was chatting in our school group with a client as I did a reading, and she said, but I'm not comfortable with this whole echoes of truth, these celestial echoes. And these celestial echoes is a way of intuiting that is very vast, and it's not bringing it down into finite structures. It allows you to actually expand yourself and have knowings on multiple levels simultaneously. And she said, but I'm not comfortable with that. And I understand that. We want everything in direct language, right? Just tell me what I'm supposed to do, right? What's my next step? What's my purpose, right? And we want to use our mind, and we're trying to wrestle the information down into one pinpointed thing. And that's not an expansive type of intuitive. And so when we hit that fifth dimension, that's where we start to get into multisensory. That's when we really start to utilize all of the clairs all of the time at the same time. And so we are able to accurately decipher that. We're very specific. We can go into the realms of the subtleties, and we can pluck a date. We can pluck a name. We can pluck out the specifics of a situation to such a degree that it blows people's minds, right? And so in that, as a multisensory, and that's why we have to watch out when someone says, oh, I'm a multisensory intuitive, but they don't really know what that means. We have to be cautious, right? We want everyone to know, here's the standard in which we are recognizing, so that when we say yes to a person reading us or doing healing on us, we're right there with them. We have given them full permission, right, to be that multisensory intuitive. Otherwise, there's not a healthy boundary or a healthy agreement, right? If an intuitive doesn't know what they're doing and you allow them to look in, that wouldn't be a good thing because they can really mess things up, right? So we have to really honor this intuitive nature that we have and understand that. Now, with that fifth dimension, what happened is we started understanding this fifth dimension. We started consciously using the multi-perspective abilities in an attempt at getting our intuitive answers. And now we have to move to a new perspective, right? We have to say, wow, on that fifth dimension, which is what we call that golden grid of grace, right? When we put people on that, we have to look from this perspective. We have to turn over here and go underneath and say, ooh, what am I seeing from this perspective or from the side? We would have to consciously move ourselves around in the way that we were peering in intuitively for a client. Okay? So that's the fifth dimension. And so we started to understand that this was really good, right? You can observe, you can get the whole picture from different angles, but you would have to move in those places. When we started working with the seventh dimension and we had gathered the sacred geometry from the fifth dimension, that's when sacred geometry starts to come in and play a role in your life when you've reached that fifth dimension. But then we started going to that seventh dimension. And in the seventh dimension, we started realizing, oh my goodness, this is so cool because we actually have another masculine dimension, right? Because we know that the dimensions alternate between masculine and feminine. But now we have a holodeck. And again, it's a structure. So just like we had the golden grid of grace that we were working on in the fifth dimension, now we've got the seventh dimension, and this provides us with the holodeck. And this supports the holographic reality, right? And it gives us the ability to perceive the hologram of a person or a situation. And in this way, we move from that multi-sensory to multidimensional, okay? We move into multidimensional. And so this seventh dimension, we start to see that we can become the hologram. And as the intuitive looking at the person, the client on the holodeck, we are now engaging with the hologram where we're starting to see every dimensional level of that being. So when I put someone on the holodeck, I'm seeing them as a hologram, and as I'm multidimensional intuitive, I can know all of their past lives instantaneously, all of their parallels. I can access even future lifelines. I can access their galactic nature, star systems that they've been on. I can access anything from this lifetime, and I can read that and know that simultaneously as their higher self wishes to reveal that to me. And so you can imagine it becomes very difficult to communicate that all at once. But the point is that we've done our work as a multidimensional intuitive. You've done your work, and so you're capable. You're capable of doing this. You're capable of holding large spaces where you would have one or more people on the holodeck at the same time. This is the work that we've been doing, like in the Awakening Celestial Channels program. This is the work we've been doing, starting to really recognize and understand and hold each other and really start to experience that holistic type of experience. Right? And it's encompassing a broader spectrum of reality. There's an expansive array of frequencies that we're tuning into, okay? So we're seeing reality as this vast interconnected hologram, and that's the multidimensional intuitive. Now, there's something we're missing though, right? What did we do? We
There's
jumped.
a gap. We jumped.
We jumped, right? What are we missing? We're missing the value of the sixth dimension and even the eighth, because what we started seeing is that these dimensions communicate with one another. So that first and the third, the fifth and the seventh, right? The second and the fourth, and the sixth and the eighth, okay? And so now this has us go, why did the universe do that? Why did the universe have us jump from the fifth to the seventh? Well, we had to actually work on the masculine first, right? We had to feel comfortable in a structure. And that's the same thing that happens within us. And once we could do that, once we felt comfortable working with the fifth dimension for so long and getting on the golden grid of grace and lighting it up and really feeling held by the divine, then we could go to the seventh dimension and feel the structure of the holodeck and still understand, oh, even as a hologram when I'm on there, when a multidimensional intuitive is reading me, I still feel comfortable. I still feel like I'm safe and protected. And that's important for our brains to understand so we can fully open. And so what happened is that we went from the fifth to the seventh, and now we're coming back to the sixth. And the sixth is so beautiful because this is where that magnetic intuition comes into play. And this is a vital part of the awakening to a whole new dimension of reality, using intuition as a catalyst. And so in that sixth dimension, I'll just tap in just a tiny bit. We're just barely touching on this, but intuition aligns with the magnetic energies flowing effortlessly, flowing abundantly. And this dimension represents that feminine approach where information and insights come to you without effort. You don't have to position yourself for perspective. You don't have to look, right? It's more of this feeling, knowing experience, and it's characterized by this ability to perceive into the alternate realities, into the space between. But what is so wild is you're connecting to a broader spectrum of experiences and potentialities.
Yes, well, that sounds not only delightful, but very powerful as well. And thank you for sharing with us that now we understand that this jump from fifth to seven was not a rush or an omission, like just, we want to ascend and we just rush. But it was intentional to have the higher structure of the seventh dimension to allow for the sixth to emerge and to flow through, right? So, so we're right on time, okay, and we're right on the, how do we say, the dance. There's a dance, right, with the dimensions, and so apparently sometimes we jump ahead and then we come back to from seventh to sixth and eighth. So talking about the magnetizing, right, magnetic intuition, can you explain the magnetizing the masculine and feminine energies, and how does this balance impact our access to the higher realms and so our intuition as well?
Yes, beautiful. So we see that the sixth dimension isn't merely this step up in a linear progression of consciousness, right? Which we all love to know. Like, which dimension are we? What kind of intuitive are we right now, right? And that's why we're going to be doing some of those intuitive readings, because you do need to know. Now, again, this isn't trying to put you into a box, because that's not the reality of it, right? When we start to understand where we're at, then we start to look in and go, oh, what do I need to shift and adjust? Where is that next level for me? And what do I personally need to work on? So we have that beautiful next step. So when we're looking at the sixth dimension, again, it's a dynamic field. Think of it's more feminine, it's more flowing. But within that, the energies of creation are swirling. Again, you mentioned the vibrant dance. It's a dance of magnetism and unity. This is all about, sixth dimension is about unity consciousness and that magnetism and the play. And imagine just this luminous kind of cosmic web where each strand pulses. It pulses with magnetic energy. We can draw on these strands because they're linking infinite potentials of the universe. And you're the conductor of that. You are there in this dimension. And magnetism isn't just a force. It's the very fabric that weaves together the dualities of existence. It's drawing them into an intricate pattern of divine coherence. And when you arrive there, You sense magnetism is alive, pulsating, fluctuating, constantly shifting. Now, if you're trying to be an intuitive and use your brain and use your mind, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So you're again trying to make it logical, and instead it's such a balance. It's a cosmic dance that really governs the interplay between all forces. But as we talk about this drawing together the masculine and feminine energies in this harmonious embrace, if you will, it's dynamic. It's dynamic. So it's really important because that 6D brings its own challenges, right? It really does. Okay.
So tell us more about these challenges. What are some of those challenges, and how do they impact us? How do they impact our intuition specifically?
Yes, good question. So in looking at this, we're looking at magnetism. Now, let's just take a peek into this. Let's really kind of get a sense of it. We could have too much magnetism, couldn't we? We could have our intuition feel underdeveloped. We could have our intuition feel like, oh, wait, we're disconnected. Too much magnetism does one thing. Insufficient magnetism does something else. Also inefficient. And then what about the magnetic fluctuations? So let's go in. We could talk a little bit more. So let's take a look at this too much magnetism, because when there's too much magnetism, the dance becomes frenetic, right? It's like pulling energies too strongly one direction, creating tension, distorting the natural flow of creation. And if we looked at this excessive magnetism kind of acting like a whirlpool, kind of trapping the energies in a vortex of this heightened polarity, instead of blending, instead of harmonizing, the masculine and feminine act as forces, but they become exaggerated. So this is where we get the caught in a tug of war, that feeling. And that tug of war between our masculine and feminine prevents the realization of each unique true nature, but also the unified nature of our masculine and feminine. And so it blocks that path to that 0 point. Remember, 0 point is where we don't have the polarity to the degree that we literally neutralize that energy. So it's this mystical stillness where the dualities dissolve into pure equilibrium. And in essence, we want that. But again, as I stated, we're not trying to devalue one magnetic energy frequency, right? We have to honor, it's more like this fusion. So again, with that excessive magnetism in the sixth dimension, it can manifest as an overwhelming pull towards specific polarities, and then that prevents that convergence. So the heightened magnetism creates an overwhelming pull of one side of the spectrum. And if we look at that, masculine spectrum, feminine spectrum, take it down to how we live that out. Some of us are more masculine, some of us are more feminine, but we're all a scale. So it's like a toggle switch. It's not like a flip switch, right? It's a toggle. And so we're toggling masculine, we're toggling feminine. And so sometimes we have these lower level masculine parts of us and lower level feminine parts of us. And with our intuition on a practical level, if our masculine isn't holding space, consistent, focused, dedicated, and listening, then the divine feminine intuitive nature, the flow, isn't going to come in. And why would it? Why would it? Because again, if we've got our most precious resource, which is our cosmic knowledge, light of truth and love, we're not going to what? Flow it into a bucket with holes in it, right? So again, we have to work on our masculine, and that masculine has to know that we trust him, but we can only trust him in our feminine nature. Our feminine can only trust our masculine. If he actually is congruent. In other words, are you saying that you're going to do something and you actually fulfill on it? Or do you say you're going to take on a project, but you get started and then you bail on it? See, our feminine's always watching our masculine to see, is he actually capable of holding this space? And so what your question would be right now is, how is my masculine functioning such that my feminine's going to flow the answers that I've been asking for so that I can fulfill on my greater divine mission? Mm-hmm. If your lower level masculine isn't stepping up to divine masculine, then we have to work on that. And then we look at the lower level feminine, you know? Is the lower level feminine so concerned that she's going to get it wrong, get intuition wrong, that she doesn't share, she doesn't communicate to the masculine what she's getting? And this plays out in your relationships in life. Doesn't matter, man, woman, 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 man, man. Mm-hmm. Someone has more feminine, someone has more masculine, and it's this beautiful dance that we're looking at. But even in relationships, and I'm just using this as an example, if the feminine can't trust the masculine to hold space, she won't open. She won't open, right? She won't flow. She'll contract. And so we want to really see the practicality of this as well, that it plays out. The lower level feminine can be way too flowy, you know, just not want any structure. And we start to complain that I don't have enough freedom. No, I just want to be in flow and be free, and whatever the divine wants me, that's going to happen in the moment, right? That can be so extreme that you don't ever create any structures. The universe likes to have structures, context, to flow the light into, and then within the context and structure, it can then flow all it wants. It can flow all it wants. So, you know, just like, for example, this interview, we had to create some kind of structure in order to have it fit within our time frame, right? We have a structure. We have a time frame. We're not going over 2 hours, Sophie. But you see, like, then we could flow within it. We can flow within it. So it's the same way. When we're in a lower level feminine type of situation, what starts to happen is the feminine is giving the power over to the masculine. So you could overthink things, or you're just going to be the damsel in distress, and you're just like, oh, I don't know what to do, and you'll never get anywhere. So again, coming back to this, we start to see that with heightened magnetism, there's a pull towards one side of the spectrum, and it's lopsided and imbalanced. And instead of harmonizing masculine and feminine energies, they become exaggerated again, leading to one polarity dominating over the other. And that disruption blocks the pathway of unity consciousness, where all polarities are meant to dissolve into oneness. So this imbalance, and it can manifest as intense internal conflict, emotional turbulence, a sense of being stuck in a cycle of duality. The 0 point, again, which represents that equilibrium where dualities are transcended, becomes difficult to access, and you can't hold your system in that beautiful dance. Okay? Now, within our physical body, and I'm just going to touch on this because this is very relatable, okay? Within this, too much magnetism within our physical body, within our neurological system, that natural balance between our energetic polarities becomes disrupted, and that leads again to that state of excessive polarization in the physical body. The excess magnetism can manifest as tension, inflammation, nervous system dysregulation. The body struggles to manage the intensified energy flow. And the neurological system particularly becomes sensitive to the magnetic forces and may experience overstimulation. And so again, this leads to this underlying vibrational experience of anxiety. We don't understand why, heightened sensitivity levels, and erratic thought patterns. So from an energetic perspective, that overabundance of magnetism can hinder our ability to reach that 0 point again. And it impacts deep levels. And so we want to get to this 0 point, because again, at the 0 point, we started to see that we've got these access points that are the way that we draw and channel divine light, and they're little mini toroidal fields, and they can become distorted or blocked, and then that again prevents the flow of energy through our access points, and so disrupts this delicate balance needed to really harmonize and come into that 6D magnetic nature. Now, when we go into insufficient magnetism means there's an inadequate flow, right? We don't have the presence of the magnetic energy. And this is like resulting in kind of a lack of dynamism. It's, lack of coherence in our energy field as well. And it makes it challenging to really achieve that optimal balance, but it leads to a feeling of disconnection, low vitality, difficulty in accessing higher states of consciousness and holding the energy there. Okay? Now, let's jump from insufficient to inefficient, because efficiency is a sign of divine feminine nature. When you can do things in a very efficient manner, that lets me know that your divine feminine is there, present within you. If you're not as efficient, right? If there's something that you could do in 5 minutes and it's taking you 15, well, you need to start working on your divine feminine nature, right? And so inefficient magnetism refers to a magnetic field that's not functioning optimally. So this could mean that the magnetic currents aren't flowing smoothly. That leads to blockages and areas of stagnation. It's stagnant. It's laziness, right? It's procrastination. And so it results in kind of a fragmented, inconsistent energetic experience. And again, that hinders the effective integration of the energies. Now, your magnetism is going to naturally fluctuate, right? And so the thing is that it's not bad to have fluctuations. Again, if you're holding the divine masculine, divine feminine, true nature, right? But when a persona comes in, what happens? If a persona comes up and suddenly you start sabotaging yourself, right? Say it's your masculine and he just refuses to do what he needs to do. Whatever your purpose work is, he's not getting things done, right? And so that spikes a fluctuation on the masculine side of the spectrum. And so we have to really look at that, because we know that these fluctuations can lead to periods of imbalance, inconsistencies in energy flows, variations in how you experience your own inner state. And you really have to understand the nature. So when we're looking in at a client, we're really starting to say, well, are they able to manage the nuances of the fluctuations, even as a persona comes up? That's why we do the integration. That's why we do the IST process. The integrative soul technology process addresses the personas in the way of the lower level masculine and the lower level feminine. That's not allowing one to arrive at the higher masculine, the higher feminine states of consciousness. So we acknowledge that, and we have a way of dissolving and honoring why that persona was there, but saying, look, that's not working for us anymore. You helped protect us, you helped keep us safe, and you helped us be in control. But now we actually need to start to bring it to a higher level of consciousness and trust with the divine. So magnetism can fluctuate due to the various factors: emotional states, environmental influences, energetic attachments, shifts in consciousness. And they can cause the magnetic field to expand and contract. And again, periods of heightened magnetism or diminished energy and magnetism. And fluctuating magnetism can disrupt the smooth flow of energy. That, again, causes imbalances between masculine and feminine, imbalances within your own physical body. And we want coherency in our energetic state. We want to be able to flow with the fluctuations. But again, they need to be infused. They need that fusion needs to happen. So we don't want that instability. We don't want inconsistent vitality. We want that to be smooth and flowing. And we don't want it spiking too high or dropping too low. Okay? Because that's going to support us with accessing those higher states of consciousness that we so desire to do.
Certainly, yes. Wow. Very interesting, because I wanted to bring up a keyword that you used at the very beginning, and you did it again. So that's my prompt to definitely bring this up. The keyword is fusion. And it makes me think really of the fusion in food, right? As a fusion, as a movement in food, in which we bring in different influences, but nothing is lost, right? We don't create a whole new breed in which all the influences disappear, but we fusion them together, right? And that's what we're talking about here with the masculine and feminine, right?
Yeah.
This fusion. So with this fusion, how is this fusion of the 6D frequencies with the intuitive development, right? Because that's what you're talking about, and the fusion of the masculine and the feminine, right? How does all of this, how is it different from other practices, spiritual practices, intuitive practices, and how do we benefit from that fusion?
Yeah. When we're using intuition as a catalyst for attaining oneness, we want to go to the sixth-dimensional reality. And we know how important oneness is, don't we? Right? So we have to understand how intuition functions at that level. In the sixth dimension, we move beyond the typical boundaries of time, space, individuality, perspectivality, right? We're entering a realm where unity consciousness prevails. This is where intuition becomes not just a tool, right, for guidance, a good, like I say, a good party trick, right? It's not just a tool for guidance, even though that's amazing. Thank you, universe, for guiding me. I need guidance. But we are becoming. We're becoming. We're becoming one. We're becoming truth. We're becoming that, right? And so we're a direct channel to the fabric of the universe itself. We're a channel. And at this level, intuition really acts as a bridge to collective consciousness. We're no longer navigating reality from this place of separation, but from interconnectedness, and not just as us talking about it. We become it. So when we start to look at that in the sixth dimension, intuition is the key to unlocking that vast interconnected wisdom of the cosmos. It tunes us into the underlying harmony of the universe. While we're in the sixth dimension, we use our intuition. So it allows us to receive the information and the insights beyond the physical and emotional realms. We go outside, and that's why when I'm doing any kind of work with someone, I'm not Christel Hughes anymore. When I'm doing these intuitive readings, I'm not Christel Hughes. If you're around me, if you lived in and around me, just as my team knows, pay attention. Because if there's anything that needs to come through as guidance for you, it's going to come out of my mouth, right? It's going to plop out. And it's because we've set up that structure that it's okay, that that's what they want from me. And so it's my beingness, it's in my nature to dissolve myself so that I can stand as a channel for the greater information to come through. And that's, again, the humility and the surrendering. And when we trust that higher dimensional intuition, it reveals how all things are interconnected to us. And we literally experience oneness as a tangible reality. Now, Sophie, you asked about the fusion of polarities, and as we've explored earlier, one of the major steps in utilizing intuition, the 60, is balancing the masculine and feminine energies within us, right? So these forces represent the divine polarities that, when harmonized, create a powerful magnetic field. When harmonized. We don't create a powerful magnetic field and then we harmonize. When harmonized. So that magnetic intuition is what pulls us into a state of cosmic unity, where that separation between polarities dissolves. And we start to function from a place of unified consciousness. Intuition guides this fusion. It's acting as a map to balance and integrate the energies. And then we can start to decode the multidimensional experiences. So it's really cool because at the 6th-dimensional level, intuition evolves. It becomes, instead of that little tool, right, that just gives us one answer. Answer my question. It's a highly refined tool that decodes the patterns of multidimensional existence. Guess what? That has occurred. That's why I can come and talk about dimensions. That's why we've been being called to talk about, as a collective, to talk about dimensions. And so the messages we receive aren't just whispers. They're not gut feelings. They're intricate cosmic downloads that help us see the universal patterns of creation. Metatron's cube, right? We start to work and play at such a different level, and so we navigate the higher realms of oneness. We can have these individual experiences as part of a larger whole. So intuition here helps us align our personal journey with the greater flow of universal evolution. That's why it's a phenomenon. And that 6th dimension also really activates our light body in profound ways. So again, in the 5th dimension, we were working a lot on building out the light body. And the 6th dimension allows us, again, we use intuition as a catalyst. It facilitates the flow of celestial energies into our being. And it not only elevates our consciousness, but also restores us to our original state of divine alignment. So we have restoration here. And so oneness isn't just this kind of abstract concept. It's embodied reality. And I'll share later just how I experienced this whole 6th to 8th dimensional reality with my illumination that I had, like the pure Parashakti illumination. So we are available, and in this state, intuition continuously channels cosmic intelligence, harmonizing our soul with the universal web of life. We can't get out of it, except there's one thing that is huge that can hinder this. And now I'm not going to go too deep into it yet, but I'm going to touch on it here, okay? Because there is a hidden blockage. Woo! I'm getting teary here because we are living in the middle world, right? We're living in a middle range world on planet Earth. And what we know is that we have planetary consciousness and karma, right? And some of us feel it very deeply in our bodies. What are we doing here? Why am I on planet Earth? Why am I not back with my star family? Why am I not just merged with the divine? And it can be really harsh. There can be deep depression and feelings of isolation and confusion. And recently, I've really discovered it's this crown of thorns implant, which is a planetary implant. It's a condition. It's a human condition. And this crown of thorns implant can prevent us from experiencing this state of cosmic unity. Now, by using 6D intuition, we become aware of these subtle energetic barriers. They start to pop out. They start to come into full levels of awareness. And we start to see what's really preventing us from fully merging with the cosmic oneness. So intuition in itself guides the process of dismantling, right? And that's what Metatron's cube does. It creates these blockages, and it can literally go in and start to take this nasty crown of thorns implant. And I haven't seen anyone now that I've been aware that doesn't have one. I really feel like it is something that is our karma, but that now that we've reached this capacity through this 5th to 7th dimension, trusting enough, opening and arriving at the 6D, we are able to see it, we're able to extract it now and dismantle it altogether, which then has us arrive at new levels of frequency and magnetism like we've never done before, because this crown of thorns really attacks us. It attacks our spine, our brain. I said I wasn't going to go into it, but
how not to go into it?
Right? How not to go into it? But anyway, also, you know, just in kind of finishing up and asking about 6D really as a catalyst for our intuition, it gives us a direct line to what we call the cosmic mind. So individual thought, universal thought merge. And when we use intuition to access this state, we attune to the collective intelligence of the cosmos. So our intuitive insights, again, aren't just personal, but part of the universal knowing. And that's what I'm just so grateful that the universe has actually used me in this way to bring this information, right, to the degree that we're starting to understand that I could have been very selfish when I was 30 years old and had my first awakening, my first illumination experience. I could have been very selfish and not gone down this road of bringing insights and using intuition to help people heal and to awaken and to embody their own intuitive nature and embrace their greater purpose. I was scared to death to speak in front of people. There's no way I would have been doing this call. There's no way I would have been on stages like I've been internationally. There's no way. But again, trusting the divine, having a heart that is yearning, that is devotional, that basically takes a stand. When you finally get your masculine to take a stand and say, I will not do anything other than my divine mission, period, universe, you've got to adjust my timeline now. When you let your feminine heart cry on the floor, you're just like bowing in, you know, this deep yearning, begging the divine to use you because you don't want to live any other way. You want to be in the dance of the cosmic mind and heart and literally become one in love. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. And so this feminine nature of the 60, the magnetism, the beautiful dance of the frequencies, masculine and feminine, the energy is exciting, it's enlivening. And you feel and live the interconnectedness, and you recognize it within yourself, others, the greater cosmos, and really you just move beyond this illusion of separateness, and you step into that oneness of all that is. So by aligning these higher cosmic forces, intuition not only guides us to greater awareness, but it acts as the key to unlocking oneness in the 6th dimension. It's the catalyst that turns spiritual knowledge into a lived experience of unity. We don't have those limitations of individuality. I'm scared. I don't want to go out there. I'm afraid that someone's going to ostracize me. Someone's going to blame me. Someone's going to not believe what I say. It's not about you. You have to get out of your own way. That's the only way, is get out of your way. Lose your name, right? Like lose yourself in it. And believe me, you'll be blessed by doing that. You'll be blessed because it's really about showing up in front of that person is as a client, or showing up wherever as an advocate, or whatever service work you're doing for the community. Lose the attitude, lose the ego. Let yourself show up and let the divine move you into action and animate your being simultaneously in that moment. Let it be so, and let yourself be the heart of that experience.
Let's take that in. Let's take that in. Yes. Wow. Wow. Christel, you've really intrigued us, intrigued me, and I'm sure I can hear the echo of the audience of your experience. I'm wondering, is it a good time to get into your illumination, or do you want to keep the suspense going a little more and do a few intuitive readings? Where do you feel like going right now?
I think we have enough that we could do intuitive readings and really start to observe where one is in that path. You know, what is the nuance there? Because we focus a lot on, we've got to balance the masculine and feminine. And I think that was true, right? We do need to bring the balance. And in that balance, we need to harmonize. In the balancing, we then harmonize. In the balancing, we then attune. And now that we have this information about the dimensions, that's going to be a little bit different, isn't it, with our work with our masculine and feminine. So if you've done the work to balance, the word balancing and harmonizing, we're using in a different context now, right? And so I don't want anyone discouraged if I start to talk about a lower level masculine persona or a lower level feminine persona, and you say, but I've done a lot of work on balancing my masculine and feminine. I know you have. Which dimension were you working on? Probably the fifth. So let's all open ourselves to what is the sixth dimension now bringing. And again, spiraling up the dimensions, right? Evolving, spiraling up so that we're gaining and grasping a whole new reality. And all that you've done with your balancing of the masculine and feminine, you're bringing to us to now say, how do we harmonize them? How are we going to be able to fuse them and merge them into the oneness? Because I want everyone to have this oneness experience. I want everyone to have an illumination. Okay?
Yes.
Yay!
Absolutely. Yes.
Let's
Even though you're keeping it mysterious for a bit longer, but I think we can say right away, yes, I want that too. Okay, so let's go into the readings. We're going to get personal, and it's so that it's going to speak to us very clearly. I'm going to take a few live callers, and later we'll go to the Q&A as well. So let's go to a web call here. We have Tamara, unmuting you, Tamara. Hello. Tamara, you're unmuted. Hello. But we can't hear you.
I can do Tamara. I know Tamara.
Yeah. So what degree for everyone, to remind everyone, click raise hand on the webcast, press *2 on your phone, or go to the Q&A, place your request, and the question to ask is, what degree am I utilizing my magnetic intuitive 6D abilities? So for Tamara, Christel.
Okay, I had to stand up for this one. So cute. All right. Yeah. Okay, so let's go in. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm putting you on the holodeck. Right? Each one, I'm tapping into your higher self, and I'm going to be reading you. Now, as I look in, Tamara, what I'm starting to see is, again, I see a pull in that fifth dimension, okay? And what I'm recognizing is the energy of that crown of thorns is attacking that brain stem, okay? And so, again, you're trying to make it logical. You're trying to make sense of things, and you're struggling with that, right? Because you're meant to move out of trying to make sense of something and just literally allow yourself to open up. Now, in the way that I'm looking at it, we can start to see that with this the magic of the sixth dimension, working to try to up-level. Your masculine is stuck. And the reason why it's stuck is I'm looking at this ancient experience that you had in a past life. Now, it's going way back to 104 past lives ago. And I'm starting to see your levels of magic at a certain place, and then somebody higher above you in this mystery school tried to squash you down, to keep you down. The same thing's happening right now. Instead of going from fifth dimension to sixth, something is happening where it's like, no, you have to stay at this fifth dimension, right? And you're only able to function from that. So there's two things going on here that we would work on in the private session that I'm offering, okay? And one is the masculine, and then one is the suppression in that fifth dimension, not allowing you to go higher, okay?
Okay, thank you. Blessings, Tamara. Next, we're going to Schaumburg with Andrea. Unmuting you, Andrea. Hello.
Hello, Sophie. Hello, Christel. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay. At what degree am I utilizing my magnetic intuitive 6D ability?
Okay, yeah, let me tune in. Okay, so placing you on the holodeck and tuning in. So what we're starting to see is I actually see almost like you've got intuition on the sideline, right? This intuition is on the sideline. And they're showing me that you have these advanced abilities, but you're not knowing how to use them, right? So you're more of this multisensory, intuitive, but you're not really understanding what's going on as it's happening. And that's where you're tripped up at. Now, if we look at that 6D, how can we actually get you to surrender? Okay? And this is a lower level feminine. Your lower level feminine, because she's not feeling as confident, right? So she's still starting to, but she's still in that place where she feels like she needs more guidance that is tangible. Okay? So if we can give you that structure, you'll do great in it, right? You'll do great with your intuition. And so what we want to look at is this past life that I'm seeing, 56 past lives ago. Okay, mark that down. And I'm starting to see an experience where when your feminine actually started kicking in with intuition, you allowed it to keep going. You channeled until you were totally exhausted. And so you actually have a fear that if you are to do this, that you would lose yourself in it. Okay? So that's the great fear that we need to work on clearing.
Wow, thank you so much. Yes, I was feeling chills all over my body. I'm full.
Thank you, Andrea. Blessings. Thank you, Christel. Okay, we're going to Pompano Beach, Florida. 7728 are the last digits of your phone number. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
What is your name? Yes, what is your name, please?
It's Tamara.
Oh, that's Tamara. There you are. Okay. All right. So you got your reading. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you for saying hello. Glad you got it. Thank you. Thank you. Blessings. Okay. Connecting anyway. Okay, then we're going to go to Ontario, Ottawa, Ontario, 1072. Let me click.
Yes, hello.
There.
How are you?
Hello. Hi. This is Eve.
Hi. Yes,
Hi.
it is.
Okay, welcome.
Hello. Okay, putting you on the holodeck. Let's tap in. Let's see what's going on here. All right, so energetically right now, I'm seeing you trying to reach that seventh dimension, right? You're needing to actually utilize your intuition with people as you put them on the holodeck, right? You're needing to learn, how do I read a hologram? Okay? So let's see what's blocking that. What's going on? Because if we start to see that you're jumping to that seventh dimension, but the 6D abilities, you're not utilizing the magnetic energy. And what we're looking at is that masculine and feminine within you, there's an argument going on. You're still arguing within your own masculine and feminine. And I have to look deeper into that. Why are your masculine and feminine arguing? Your feminine wants you to trust. Your feminine is saying, take the leap of faith, right? Your masculine, on the other hand, is trying to be more practical with it. So your masculine is afraid. He's not afraid of your feminine. He believes you're feminine, but he's not listening to her, right? So it's like if someone said, no, just step off here. I promise I gotcha. But you're not doing it because you really don't know. Does that one have me? Does that person have me? I'm scared. And you're not doing it, right? So for you, we've got to work on that lower level masculine so that when he recognizes the power that your feminine has to create the undercurrent fluctuations that would build out the next stepping stone for you. That's what's really going on. You can manifest at that 6-dimensional level because you're in the oneness. Anything can transpire. And then you'll be able to really accept your hologram and become that and just live that. Okay? So how many past lives are we looking at here? 74 past lives ago. Okay? So just make sure you write that down. But that's where the fear comes with your masculine. Okay?
Yes, accept your hologram, Eve. That's the invitation. Thank you. I had to mute you, Eve. Thank you. Blessings. Okay, let's go to Van Nuys, California with Judy. Unmuting you, Judy. Hello.
Hello, good morning. I'm so excited about
oh my gosh, I got chills when I heard you. Oh, yes. Okay, Judy. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's place you on the holodeck, tuning in with your higher self. Now, what they're starting to show me a little bit of this crown of thorns within you. I can't help but see it sometimes, right? And it's attacking the mid-spine to the base of the spine, okay? Now, when we look at the interference that I'm seeing for you, right now, you're at that extrasensory and have the capacity to be that multisensory intuitive. But what's happening is it feels like your masculine has you juggling too much, right? So it will distract you. That's the shadow side of the masculine distracting you. So we want you to be all across the board, right? We want you to be able to understand the nuances of the subtle energies of your intuition, whether that's clairaudience, where it's coming from, or whether it's clairsentience, how is that feeling? And what does this feeling have to contribute to what I'm hearing or what I'm knowing, right? And so with that, let's just see how many past lives we're looking at for you. So we're looking at 7 past lives for you. So this is quite recent, which means it's pretty easy to clear here. And then we start to see that in that, there was an experience in which you were not allowed to have the time for your creative passions. You were not allowed to have the time. So it's kind of that behavioral pattern, right? Where you just keep busy. And in that lifetime, you had to keep busy. In this lifetime, you don't. In this lifetime, we want to create a little more space for that energy as we upgrade your masculine to have the feminine voice come in, okay? So that's what we've got to work on and remove that crown of thorns for you.
As you were talking, I got the biggest smile on my face and this excitement because I'm hearing, yes, you have already cleared the space, so let's move forward. Oh my gosh, so excited. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Blessings. Okay, we're going to Atlanta, Georgia with Marilyn. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So
Hi.
my question is, what degree am I utilizing my magnetic 6D abilities?
Yeah, let's take a look here. All right, so you're really striving with that multisensory ability, right? And your true nature is to go to the multidimensional intuitive, right? You have that capacity, okay? So if we start to look at what's blocking that multisensory, what I'm starting to see is almost like a slip up, right? It's kind of like it's slippery. It's a slippery slope that you're trying to manage. And I'm not sure if that's life or if you've tried to do certain things and it just hasn't clicked into place or what's going on. But if I start to look at your masculine and feminine, that degree of magnetism, what I'm starting to see is your feminine really yearning to grow into that divine feminine nature. And we start to look at that because if you had, and you can answer me or you don't have to, but have you had men in your life that are very controlling?
No, not really.
They're soft,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
They're soft. And the thing is that we can't have your masculine soft. Your masculine for your divine feminine has to be stronger. And it might feel to you like you're having to be more controlling, but it's a good sense of control. Okay? It's a good sense of control. So what we've got to do is clear the genealogical line. Your energy needs to arrive at a place where your masculine is so beautifully strong for your divine feminine intuition that she feels comfortable. She feels comfortable enough to surrender, to open, to flow, right? And then that would allow you to have a container for all that light as information to come into, okay? And that will feed your progression and allow you to really expand with your spiritual evolution. Because for you, it's not so much about doing this for another person. It's about doing it for yourself, okay?
Okay. So I don't have the crown of thorns interfering with this.
Oh, you do? Everyone has the crown of thorns. Everybody has that. Everybody has the crown of thorns. That's why I got so impacted. Because, you know, for me and my story, why had I not seen it before? That's where I went. How could I have done everything that I've done and not seen it living within me? And then once that got revealed, then suddenly I could recognize, oh my gosh, this is planetary karma that's impacting every single one of us. And yeah, but I'm not here reading your crown of thorns. I'm reading the degree that you're currently utilizing your 60 abilities, right? Okay.
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 All right. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you. Blessings. Well, Christel, I think that's our signal. That's our signal to let's just not keep the suspense any longer and tell us about your illumination. Tell us all about it.
Okay.
Please.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. So, you know, I wanted to share with everyone that, you know, through the experience of starting to understand and work with 5D, 60, 70, you know, I really wasn't even paying attention to 60 because 70 was taking all of my time and energy. And from the 50, I guess it's been, maybe 5 years that I've been working with sacred geometry, working with Archangel Metatron's cube. And my whole journey with sacred geometry has been absolutely fascinating. From really starting to understand how these sacred creations come into being through these 5D beings that are here to help us, right? And what I mean by that, trying to put this plainly, is that within Metatron's cube, there's these 5 platonic solids, and I see them as beings. And so as Metatron's cube came into my life during one of these moments in which I was on a vision quest, that was phenomenal. I started being able to interact with these beings and unhook pain out of people's bodies that they have for 20 plus years. Magic and miracles were happening in working with clients. And from that 5D, then suddenly I started observing and realizing, oh my God, I'm reading people holographically. This is a whole new dimension. And so I wasn't really paying much attention to the 6th dimension. I just was really coming into it's like, you know, when the sun is rising and you're like in that moment of awe and the beauty of the light is forming and you're starting to see in new ways and you're just looking at how the light is glistening on everything. And that's where I was when I went on the spiritual journey recently. I was actually in that place, but I said to myself, I need to truly surrender even more. And so this story is really about understanding what that surrendering has done for me, where it's brought me to, and I want you to also get a sense of what that can be for you. Because as I have discovered not just what was in the way of my full surrender, and when I say surrender, really starting to allow myself to be, I started being able to embody in a way that had never been experienced before, but without boundaries. So this first is going to be my story of the crown of thorns and how I recognized that planetary implant, something I'd never consciously known was there until this moment of revelation and really understanding it. So for a while, I had been experiencing these strange symptoms for days, right? And these symptoms were like this fuzzy sensation in my crown chakra, and it kind of hovered above me. And it wasn't exactly a headache, but it was more like a dull, persistent feeling that something wasn't quite right. And the more frustrating symptom was the sense that I wasn't fully grounded in my body. And I know how to ground, right? But if you can imagine, like, everything you know, trying to do it, and it's not working. And it was as though I couldn't feel the full strength of my physical presence. You know, like my immune system was somehow compromised, and I couldn't get it back. And along with that came this achy, weighted feeling in my neck, my shoulders, just this achiness kind of adding to the heaviness. And I was on this spiritual retreat, and this was about 5 weeks into a 6-week spiritual adventure. So you can imagine I had done lots of chanting, lots of clearing, lots of meditation. And I came upon this person. Now, usually I don't share what I'm going through with others, but the universe had placed this gentleman in my path, and he had been on his spiritual quest for over 40 years. And so we instantly had connected in this ride that we had, this share ride, that we were taking to the location that we were doing the spiritual retreat. And it was like a nonstop, instant, I felt comfortable with him, and I ran into him at the retreat. And I started sharing these sensations and seeking some sort of insight, maybe. I think subconsciously it was like, if I share, maybe he sees something, or I don't know what's going on. And after listening, he got down, he dropped down to my eye level. And was so beautiful. He's literally peering in, and I suddenly felt like his gaze. And again, I don't let just anyone look into me, right? But I felt so comforted in that moment that his masculine was holding me. And after listening and looking at me, he identified it. He says, it's the crown of thorns implant. Now, I had never heard of that before. Didn't know what it was. Still just being open. The moment those words left his mouth, I could suddenly see it. Instantly, I was transported to the holodeck, and I was in this state watching myself as a hologram. And then there it was, the implant. And it was a literal crown made of sharp metallic fingers that pierced into my crown, and it extended all the way through my causal and my soul star chakras. But that wasn't all, Sophie. It had these wild tendrils of ivy that had grown from the crown, winding down into my spine. And these thorny vines twisted between my vertebrae. They embedded themselves deeply. And oh my gosh, it was causing such discomfort. And it was that what I had been experiencing. And it was shocking to witness, because it was this foreign energy that had infiltrated such vital energetic centers, right? And so at that moment, I knew what I had to do. Of course, I called upon Metatron's cube instantly, right? I began to remove the emotional energy that was essentially gluing this implant, but it was like peeling layers of energetic residue that had been held in place, entwined in my spinal column and in the chakras. And it took a couple of rounds. Now, my friend was there, and he was holding space, and he didn't stop peering into my eyes, really looking, even if my eyes were closed, and I was going, boom, and he was like, oh my gosh. And so I opened my eyes after a couple of rounds, and he goes, oh my God, how did you do that so fast? And it was like, okay, well, that grip loosened. And then suddenly, as if guided by a force greater than myself, suddenly I was pulled downwards by the powerful energy of the earth. I was like, whoa, like an elevator drop, right? Through my feet, Earth Star chakra. The pull was so strong that I like reached out to him to hold me. It was like the earth was pulling me back into my body incredibly though. The arches of my feet became like suction cups. Not little suction cups. Firmly rooted me into the ground. Like suddenly. It was actually an overwhelming feeling of completeness. I was going to say it's unearthly, but it actually was more earthly. So it was like I was truly embodied for the first time in what I felt like ages. The headiness of that fuzzy, weird energy lifted. I wasn't attached to just, oh my God, that place of where your attention's drawn to your head if you've got a headache, right? But it was like profound clarity. My eyes seemed to actually see the world with new sharpness, so everything became crisp, sharp. I could feel this vast space within me, though, and that's what was so trippy. This space that was available to me. It was beautiful. It was expansive. It was serene. And my friend who was there witnessed the transformation, and he was like, oh my God, now you're here. Now you're grounded. Now you're present. And I suddenly felt as though my aura had shifted, like expanded in ways that made me fully available, like available to life, fully available to life. So that was truly profound, but the suction cups lasted for days. It's like you lifting your feet to walk. You're kind of floating, but you're suction cupped at the same time. But it was a return to alignment. It was an embodiment to a state of clarity that I didn't even know I was missing. And so it showed me how deep these planetary implants can go, but then also how transformative it could be to remove them. So really restoring physical vitality, because again, I felt like my immune system was so low. I didn't know what to do. It was like I was kind of grasping, right, to try to get back in and feel strong again in my body. And also the pain in the neck and the heaviness in the head and all that. So this really was like a huge, oh my God. And I know what it's linked to. And what it's linked to, and you guys, this is one of the keys, that it was linked to a sense of responsibility and a readiness thing, right? So if you guys have any kind of, am I ready? Am I ready for my next embodiment? Am I ready for my next level? Like there's a wanting of it, but are you ready? And if you have any fear about being ready, you have to clear this crown of thorns implant, right? I know that it's not easy to do because it's huge. It's a freaking monster inside of you. And it goes all the way to the coccyx. It wraps around the base of the spine, and it literally works with your brain and scrambles things. And I knew that it was about me embodying High Priestess. It was about me allowing my divine feminine to be the High Priestess and my masculine to be the Emperor. It was about that grand scale of luminosity. And the goal is really to access the full spectrum of knowledge, getting whatever knowledge you need at any time. And so allowing that shift to happen, to move in, because this was an initiation of my birthday, my 5/4 birthday, me turning 54. And the 4 is about structure. It's about a new platform in which I can grow from. And so now going from king and queen of my masculine and feminine to emperor and high priestess of my masculine and feminine, and to really step into the destiny. So that's the story of that crown of thorns, planetary implant. But what transpired after that? Again, I'm just getting teary-eyed because I'm so grateful that the divine sent that beautiful friend to me. I must have been with him in a past life, a friend, or known him to feel that comfortable. That was an angel, an earth angel, and I'm so grateful for that. Now, I recognize the importance of removing that crown of thorns. I mean, I've started talking about it, started telling everybody that I know. I started, looking in and, like I said, really seeing that. I looked into Lola, I've looked into my mom, I looked into my friends, and, knowing the importance of it. But I want to continue to share the illumination if I may.
Yes, please.
Because what happened is, again, my intention when I went into the 6 weeks was to fully surrender, like I had never surrendered before. And I had been in a deep state of intending full surrender, a desire that felt all-consuming. And that's what it takes. You have to be consumed by the desire, right? And I asked the divine, please use me and help me to be fully surrendered to my greater purpose. And it was a heartfelt prayer. And I knew that just saying that, holy crap, right? Like that's going to change everything. And sometimes that's it. Like we have to be vulnerable enough to actually ask for that and to be brave enough and to be bold enough. But I didn't know how deeply it would affect me, right? I didn't know that it would. And so this was a different friend. And the beauty of this experience is that this friend of mine is just an absolute love of mine that I adore, that I respect, that I honor beyond words. This person just truly is just, beyond description of the magnificence of him. And as we were sitting together at the retreat, we were talking about the importance of envisioning the divine within. In the innermost sanctum of the heart, how do we maintain a connection with Divine Mother and Divine Father? And so we said, okay, well, let's see how we do this uniquely, right? How do you do it? And that was my question, like, how do you do it? And he said, well, I imagine that Divine Mother's in my heart, and then I would sit beside her, just imagining the presence there, always within him, and checking in, right, throughout the day. So, just curious to see how our experiences really were different. I said, oh, well, let me check how I do it, right? Now, when I closed my eyes and I looked inward, I saw the Divine Mother sitting on the lap of Divine Father. Now, this whole epiphany, because usually when I go into the innermost sanctum, I see Divine Mother and Divine Father standing beside each other, welcoming me in and embracing me, right? And we do this type of work, and we've done it for years, right? Our version of Divine Mother Father. But this time, Divine Father showed up as Shiva, the pure consciousness. And Shiva had the huge, cobra energy coming up almost like an umbrella over his head, but also covering the head of Divine Mother. Divine Mother sitting on the lap, her back against his chest, almost like he was a throne. She was sitting on this throne of Shiva, the grand structure, and both cradling each other in a sense in this sacred embrace, but not as a hug. She was leaning into him, and I was at their feet. I was bowing low. I was completely humble. I was fully surrendered in their presence. And it was a striking and profound image that stayed with me. And it felt more than symbolic, like it was real, like I was there with them. And I wasn't just thinking about them. Now I want you guys to listen, because these are clues. I wasn't just thinking about them. I wasn't mentalizing how I was connecting with them, but I was being with them right there in the deepest part of my heart. And this led to us discussing how important the perspective is. How important is your perspective, the way that you're looking, right? Again, multi-perspectivality. We're going in from fifth dimension to seventh dimension holographically. And there's that differentiation there. So different between thinking of the divine and being with the divine. So when you bring them into the heart's inner sanctum, they're not just distant ideals or energies, but real, tangible presences within you. And so inspired by this revelation, I started a practice of interacting with them, Divine Mother and Divine Father, and observing how I perceive them in my heart every day. Now, this was a couple days later. I decided to try something different, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm in my meditation, and instead of what I would normally do, hug Divine Mother and Divine Father, right? And then kind of merge in the lovey-dovey feeling tone, I actually said, you know what? I'm going to have you guys merge first into something greater. I request Divine Mother and Father to merge into the Supreme God consciousness. And they did. They did. And suddenly, as they merged into Supreme God consciousness, what we call Parashakti, oh my gosh, suddenly the distinction was that I had always been focusing on their forms, seeing them as beautiful figures, but this time I allowed them to dissolve into the formless. So now I'm engaging with the formlessness. That shift in perception from the physicality of form to the infinite formlessness of the Supreme, boom, that did it. And once they had merged into Parashakti, into that vast, boundless, like Supreme consciousness, what was before me to merge into with? And in an instant, I was completely taken over. I had become fully illuminated, and I was Parashakti, the ultimate goddess of all of creation and consciousness. I had surrendered fully in the most absolute way. And what happened, Sophie, was in that state, all of a sudden, I was in this multi-directionality. And it was like as though the very fabric of reality shifted. I could see, feel things happening all at once in every direction. Multi-directionality with simultaneously being able to discern. In the meditation, I was doing this meditation where snowflakes of beautiful white flower meditation was falling onto the earth, but not just in one direction like you would normally imagine. I experienced the snow falling upside down, sideways, in all directions, simultaneously. My perception expanded to 8-dimensional intuitive capacity. Instead of just this experience of holographically seeing and sensing, I actually became omnidirectional. the omnidirectional awareness, moving into the simultaneous nature of the ninth dimension. I had become this boundless state of oneness. My aura no longer just this energy field. It literally was the embodiment of oneness itself. I was Parashakti. I was the goddess moving, floating. It was a recognition beyond the mind. It was a feeling of weightlessness. It was a profound joy of being fully merged with the Supreme. It was like bliss. Now, this lasted about a week and a half. But during this time, this is what was really fascinating as well, is that my Antakarana, the bridge between the spiritual and physical realms, amplified and expanded, reaching both above and below. And in that moment of the Antakarana bridge, building, there was infinite dimensions up, infinite dimensions down. My aura then took on the shape of an hourglass, as if there was a perfect mirroring of the as above and so below. So it was infinite dimensions in infinite directions. It was a mirrored reflection, as if, again, I was becoming the oracles that are my guides, that are mirror beings. And so what came out of that is that the research of being omnidirectional of the eighth dimension, this is what is so wild. When you look at omnidirectional and what it means, it blows your mind. Because if you imagine, suddenly I'm going from the sixth dimension of the oneness, the feeling tones, the resonance of that. And I am now in my sister dimension of the eighth dimension. I am literally now in the cosmic magnetism. And what we start to see is, as we look at the pattern that comes off of the omnidirectional antenna, if you will, the omnidirectional antenna oriented vertically, but widely used for non-directional experiences to cover the surface of the earth. So what we start to see is that we radiate equally in all horizontal directions. So the Antakarana being amplified as the bridge, as the channel, suddenly allowed me to become this omnidirectional antenna, and then I'm radiating equally in horizontal directions. So it's not about aiming to the above or to the below or to the left or to the right or towards the earth. I'm not wasting any energy at the eighth dimension. It's donut shaped. It's a torus. What does that remind you of? What else do we have that radiates as the torus? The toroidal field. And so suddenly, as it resembles the shape of a toroid, the toroidal field at the center, I'm literally emanating, transmitting signals equally in all directions, perpendicular to the axis, which is the Antakarana. And so suddenly, all of my access points that are mini toroidal fields were becoming one on the eighth dimension and tapping the ninth dimension, a simultaneous omnidirectional being in 0 point. I was just one. I was just one. I was literally Parashakti. I was just the living, breathing goddess. Profound. So,
very profound. Yes.
yeah,
We're right there
if
with
I
you.
can say that this is a way. This is a way. We've discovered a way. Can we? Will you allow me to shift the perspective in which you're observing how you interact with divine ultimate masculine and feminine within your heart? Will you surrender? Will you become one? Will you recognize the power of all the work you've done? What that has culminated to in this moment where we now recognize the interplay of the dimensions and how to get there, how to get to the oneness.
Yes. How? How? Yes. You know, I have on my mind this saying, I want what you're having. I think we all want what you've had. And, you know, you're here to take us there, aren't you?
Absolutely. This is why this is so close to my heart.
Yes.
It's an experience, and like I said, I couldn't shut up about it. I mean, I was literally telling, the guy that comes to, spray the do the woodworking, all around my house, like spray the weeds or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like it didn't matter who it was. Like I'm stopping them and telling them, like, hey, there's a crown of thorns thing here. We got to get it. We got to move it out of you. Hey, you can have oneness. You can do this. You can do that. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing. It's not about, am I an amazing intuitive? What's allowing us to be is we're in the recognition of the capacity that we have to surrender and to literally be in the knowing of what we need to clear. And what we can now come upon is the magical space that we can create by removing the crown of thorns. And to allow then Padashakti to come in. Because we now know in what order we can imagine that we were trying to merge with Divine Mother and Father. Instead, we need to let them, as great beings, merge into the oneness and then ourselves merge into the oneness. That's huge. And to allow Shakti, because this is not Shakti, this is Parashakti. This is ultimate Shakti. This is pure substance. Even the substance behind the consciousness that even brings a thought of creation into all of the universes. Right? It's substantial. And to be that, I didn't even share what happened with me for days because I was so in it. And then I shared.
I was thinking, and then, yes.
And now I'm sharing. Right?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for taking us there, right? So you're going to share more. I would really love for you to share about how you are going to take us there, right? And for that purpose, you've created really a wonderful, very profound offering, 6D Cosmic Intuition Awakening. So we'd love to hear all about it. We'd love for you to share about it. So for everyone to follow, go to gracefulconnections.com/Christel4. If you're on the webcast, you have a button and a link that you can click. If you're on the replay, just scroll down the page to discover Christel's special offer. So, Christel.
Yes, this is more about the journey that leads you to meeting up with Padashakti, the purest primal substance of creation. And can we unlock that significant shift in your intuitive capacities and your abilities? Yes, we can. I really believe, and you felt my passion, you felt my left brain, you felt my right brain, my masculine, my feminine today on this call. We've got the structure. We are in the understanding of it, but we're also in the recognition of that planetary karmic experience that we're undergoing. And so I think that I want your depth of attention right now to really get a sense of what can this do for you? How can we acknowledge that we do have to remove something that is so profound and that has been playing out as an intense situation? And I'm going to go directly into this crown of thorns, because as we started to look in this crown of thorns implant, I was there, and the conversation that I was having was with my friend Nick, who, if you look on the special offer page, you're going to see that there is a crown of thorns implant removal remote private session with Nick Sohanovsky, right? Now, Sophie, you've met Nick. You recognize the purity of this man's heart, the level of dedication that's unmatched in the consistency of meditation, the devotion, the selfless service of literally, I've seen him come to the States and not see me first, but go because he's going to go feed the homeless in Kansas City, Missouri. It's like, where are you going? I was drawn to go feed the homeless. But I want to see you. You're in the States. No, got to go here first. The level in which he allows himself to be directed by the divine, I've never seen before, because there's a selflessness, right? There's a selflessness. And this is the person that the divine placed me with when we discovered the perspective making a difference in how we would merge and interact with Divine Mother and Divine Father on a daily basis. And so he has this ability clairvoyantly. Now, I remember when my clairs started to open, all of my abilities started to open, and I was asking him to teach me to scan. Teach me to scan. This is my teacher. He taught me to scan. Everyone who knows, who's ever had me scan for them, this is my teacher of scanning. He's worked with Master Chillicothe Sui, who was the creator of pranic healing. I think he's a master. He would never say he's a master. I would dare say Nick is a master. I trust him with my body being, with my energetic system, full-heartedly, and I trust him with yours. Now, he also has been over the years. We met in 2008, and we met at a spiritual retreat, which then again, here we are, however many years later, at this same spiritual retreat. And the ability that we have telepathically to understand each other and to really recognize the level at which both of us strive to live our purpose. It's uncanny. And if you ever get a chance to work with him, to meet him, you will be blessed, just simply because the resonance that comes off of him is a profound resonance. It's profound. And you have to really allow yourself to drop down into your heart, even to be able to let him see you. So I trust that each of you are going to surrender yourself to him, because he's such a precious, sensitive being that I would want you to do that for him if you're working with him. And then on the other hand, him honoring you at the highest levels. But I think you can sense how much I love Nick and the degree that I respect and honor him, and that would put him on this program, right, to bring him in to our world. And so he is going to be doing a remote session with you. He is going to do an assessment. He's going to gift you that Crown of Thorns assessment. We need to take a look at certain things. And he would be able to access my wisdom and knowledge as well, to have a conversation with me. And I think the whole collaboration is beautiful, that you're not just getting one person, you're getting two. But we've got to look at where the puncture points are of the chakras. because the thorns are real thorns, and they create dysfunction in your system, and they affect not just one part of your chakra, but front, back, center. And then looking at the structure and the impact, we've seen it. Like I told you, I looked at it on Lola. I looked at it on Lola is my dog. And really starting to see now, when Nick and I looked in, this was like a bone structure. Like it was made of bone, and it wrapped around her throat and came up around her head. Now, what you guys probably do not know about Lola is that I've never heard Lola bark. Lola does not have a bark. And this crown of thorns was impeding her bark. So after Nick did the work on her to remove the crown of thorns, we had to get the purpose of that. Anytime you're doing any kind of extraction work, you have to get the purpose of it, right? Now, we know it's planetary. So it is a case that karmically as humans, we have this implanted into us. But now we don't need it. Now we can take it out because it causes division. It causes separation. It was keeping us thinking that it was enough to think about merging with, Divine Mother and Divine Father. And instead, that was actually keeping us from the ultimate consciousness, the ultimate state of oneness and allness and unification. So we had gotten to a certain place with our evolution, but now we need to take this off so that we can actually release any sense of divisiveness and come into a fullness of oneness, okay? So we've got to look at the structure, and we've got to look at how much it's destroyed. What's the destruction element of this? Emotionally, mentally, physically, and what's the impact, that level of impact on your physical body, how it's been influencing your life, your behavior. Are you moody? Are you foggy? Can you not remember things? Are you triggered faster than you were, even though you're more spiritually advanced? What's going on? Do you have issues with your adrenals? Are you working on certain areas of your body and it seems to get cleared and then it comes right back after a period of going away? What's happening? And then we've got to look at the prana and really scan to determine the percentage from 1 to 100%, the impact that the crown of thorns has had on your energy field, because that gives you a comprehensive view of how deeply the implant's been affecting your overall vitality. So I'm speaking to you about the physical level all the way up to the spiritual and advanced spiritual levels that we need to remove this crown of thorns implant. Now, he's going to do this work. He's going to use pranic healing as well as other types of healings, okay? But he's going to shift that, and also we're going to disintegrate, okay? We're going to disintegrate and make sure we get all the remnants of this, okay? Now, while this is being done, it's really important, everyone, that you understand the intensity of what we're doing, that it really requires one to be held. I think that the pair of us, Nick and myself, we can stand together even stronger than individually, even stronger. So I feel really good about this. I wouldn't say try this at home on your own, right? Don't try to tackle this because it's too spiky and it's alive. This crown of thorns can move and grow, and it's a nasty, right? So I trust Nick because I trust him with entity removal and all those other nasties. He's done that on me ever since I've met him. He's done it on my clients ever since I met him. So I really trust him. Now, what I've created is something to support you. The Celestial Prana Illumination is a 3-part remote distant healing series with me and with the archangels, so that the first day I'm calling forth Archangel Michael. I'm creating a protective crystalline grid. I'm working with the light body, ensuring that you're enveloped with spiritual support. I'm going to literally bring in that crystalline grid and do an activation on you. And I'm going to be looking at the hologenetic matrix of your being. And what that means is, as I see you as a hologram, I've got to go deep into your physicality as well. I need to look at the whole matrix through all of those layers of your being. So that's the whole part, if you will. It's a holographic and hologenetic, down to your genetics, down to your DNA, because the crown of thorns impacts your DNA. And this makes a big difference with what you'll see in coming into the Pada Shakti oneness. We have to utilize the spiral consciousness, which is what Shakti comes in as a form. It's a spiral nature. It's pure vitality. It's pure life force energy. So I have to look in and prepare you and then stabilize you for part 2, which is the same day that Nick is going to be doing your distant remote removal of your crown of thorns. Okay? Now, as I work in part 2, which is day 2, I'm working with Archangel Uriel, which bridges the consciousness of the higher realms to our planet Earth. So that also increases your capacity as an intuitive messenger, okay? I'm also working with Archangel Raphael, who is a healer, Archangel Metatron, who, as we know, is very invested in your future, right? And knows your future and knows how it's been impacted by this crown of thorns. So we're going to dismantle the crown of thorns implant with Metatron's cube. Meanwhile, Nick is actually doing the pranic healing to remove it. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm doing distant healing. Do you see how supported you are? And I'm enhancing the ethereal sovereign interface, because there's an interface here that we have to work on. And so that's going to help you gain that sovereign planetary grounding. So you might not know, but I'll share a little bit about that when you sign up. That ethereal sovereign interface, that's really how I actually came to being so grounded. Remember with the suction cups? Mm-hmm. I believe that I would not have gotten to the level of oneness with Pada Shakti and owned my sovereignty as High Priestess Emperor if I had not just had the crown of thorns implant removed. I had to have it removed to create the space. So the universe had to bring me somebody out of the blue that I didn't know, but that I could feel I could trust, a stranger, to identify and help me in that moment. I didn't even get the name of the last name of the person. I didn't even get their phone number. I don't even know who they are, really. That's how much I trust the universe in bringing that person to me. We've been brought to you guys to do this. You know us and trust us. Now, as we do that, we're dismantling the crown of thorns. We're restoring that ethereal sovereign interface. And we're allowing that sovereign planetary grounding, the anchoring, you to come back in your body. And then day 3, after that distant healing, I'm going to actually start to bring in Archangel Raziel. And we're going to do the celestial prana illumination. So this is all about bringing the prana in, the sacred illumination. I want to work with your energy to be able to adjust your perspective, unlocking the intuitive power and really utilizing the spiral, okay, as much as possible in the distant healing. Now, if you really want to gain a depth, you're going to actually work with, as I'm doing the work, you have a guided journey for each part of that, okay? Because I found that really supports everyone. Because sometimes, you know, you're on the holodeck, you're sitting quietly or whatever, and I'm doing the work on you. Or you're doing whatever you're doing and I'm doing the work distantly on you. But having the guided journeys is really going to support you, okay? So that is in itself a whole little package, right? But if you want to go to the next level, then I would love for you to actually have a private session with me. And I don't have to go into this a lot, but the Shakti Spiral Intuition Activation Session, where I am going to work to demagnetize you. This is so important because part of you gaining that enhanced magnetic flow is that we do need to restore equilibrium. We have to create a clear, balanced energetic field. I've got to demagnetize your heart because I'm looking, is it too much magnetic abilities, right? Are they wonky and lopsided? Is it insufficient or inefficient? So I will work specifically with you, and I'm going to bring that flow back. So really invigorating and fine-tuning the magnetic current. Also integrating, right? We've got to then integrate the energies into your system so that we're enhancing the balance and the harmonization of the masculine and feminine for that sacred merging. Now, I also am going to work to build your Antakarana in both directions. Again, that's the multidimensional bridge. And we've got to have the 0 point space, if you will, of neutrality to build out in both directions, right? So that it's moving through all the dimensions one way and all the dimensions the other. And then we're going to create the spiraling together, a beautiful, coherent spiraling. So we're balancing and working on the helix structure. And that's what happens with the Shakti spiral. It's a unique spiral that is rotating and infusing as it goes, catalyzing this profound shift in consciousness. And it boosts vitality, literally, your organs in your body, enhancing the magnetic current, but also making sure that you're doing a deep realignment, okay, with the outdated perspective. So even if you're at that fifth dimension, there's outdated perspectives from the fifth dimension. You see? We're needing to really support you moving out of duality. And so we have to move up to that sixth dimension. So I'm going to do a heart harmonization at the 6D, harmonizing your magnetic field, right? Merging the universal cosmic hearts of Divine Mother and Divine Father. Then you're going to have the merging in with Pada Shakti. Now, I'm going to become that for you during that session. I'm going to do what I need to do to activate Pada Shakti within me, making sure that that fullness of the Shakti energy is there. And there's so much magic that we're talking about with the spiral. And Raziel's symbolism as the spiral of knowledge, right? Because Archangel Raziel embodies the essence of divine knowledge. But what we can start to see is that it's an eternal wisdom. And that really allows us. The spiral is the symbol of infinite expansion and contraction. It opens up, it gathers, and then it goes down. And when we do this, we're going deep into the swirling galaxies within your own DNA and the structure of your DNA. So where each revolution brings deeper understanding, greater awareness. And it's the idea where the spiral shape embodies this movement from a central point outward, right? A central point outward. So that's really the journey from the innermost core of the being to the vastness of the cosmos and back again. And that cyclical motion mirrors the way knowledge is acquired and understood and integrated, right? We're always spiraling up. That spiral connects the smallest point to the most infinite expanse. And Raziel's wisdom links that minutest insight to the grandest cosmic truth. So this is the realization of universal principles. It's the oneness. It's brilliant. It's the true understanding from balancing introspection with external exploration. Okay? So we're reminded to look within for answers, but also to recognize the divine presence in the world around us, in nature, in relationships, in the experiences we encounter, and really trust the spiral, the Shakti spiral, to boost, to balance as it goes, but to allow you to really navigate the dimensions of reality with confidence, knowing that this wisdom of yours is an eternal wisdom, to gain the full spectrum of dimensional intuition as knowledge, as light, as love. Really to be the finite within the infinite, the form within the formlessness, and to allow you to have divinity revealed to you as that full unified frequency that underlies all of creation, to become yourself Pada Shakti.
That's the invitation. Become yourself,
Yes.
Parashakti. That's the invitation. Wow. What a magnificent creation. I was going to say package, but yeah, it's a creation, co-creation. And I mean, I know both of you very well, Christel and Nick, and what a magnificent creation by such magnificent beings and talents and such purity of heart from both of you. So, wow, thank you so much. Everyone, let me wrap things up for everyone, and you have all the details. There's so much more to read about it. Make sure to go to gracefulconnections.com/Christel4. On the web, you have the button, you have the link, and on the replay, you just scroll down the page. And to wrap up, you have option 2 of this creation package, which is the Celestial Prana Illumination 3-part remote healing series with 3 audio guided journeys. That's with Christel. And the Crown of Thorns implant removal, your remote private session with Nick Stoyanovsky with the personal assessment feedback emailed to you. So that's option 2. And option 1 is all of that plus your private one-on-one session with Christel, the Shakti Spiral Intuition Activation with Metatron's Cube and Parashakti embodied by Christel. So that's going to be a magnificent session in itself as well. And you have 2 and even 3 payment plans available to make this accessible and to make it possible for everyone who wishes to answer the invitation that you have extended to us, Christel. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. What to say? What to say? What to say? What to add to this?
Just be in gratitude, I think. I think
yes.
this is
yes.
a moment in which we can just be in gratitude that this light of truth has come through today, and that we are engaged in the process of awakening, and that we have to be fearless and we have to be courageous, be bold in stepping into this. We're uncovering things. All that you've done to this point has allowed you to hear this message. This is a gift of knowledge. This is a gift. It's something that is to lift you up, that is to inspire you to take action, right? And in doing that, we are blessed. We're blessed because now we know. We know what to do. We know how to do it. We know that we can arrive at that feeling tone, the feeling tone of oneness, that I am the allness. I'm living it. I'm breathing it. And then also we can hone in on what that means for our intuitive skill set, utilizing intuition as a catalyst to launch us into this oneness, and vice versa. Vice versa. To feel so held. I feel so loved up and so held by the divine right now. You know, to be willing to go on the adventure for 6 weeks, to have my community hold space for me. I know that, you know, sometimes when you step out, it's like, oh, I'm stepping back in. My people were like, where is she? What is she doing? Trust that what I'm doing is bringing this information back to you. I'm collecting it. I'm gathering it. I'm experiencing it. I'll never give up. And if I can have that opportunity to share with you, I will. And I'm so grateful and I'm so humbled. And Sophie, thank you for creating this platform and being available to all of us to continue to be a channel to allow these brilliant experts in their field, their wisdom, their knowledge to come through. When we show up on these calls, we're signaling the divine that we are willing, that we are ready. And no matter what your path, you're going to have somebody here that matches that. You're going to gather that. The divine is always trying to get that to you. So really trust yourself, trust your heart. If it's to work with me and Nick, then excellent, because it's fresh within us. We've been practicing, we've been doing it on ourselves and each other, and realizing the magnificence of this and the magnitude in which it can take someone down. But also, we're here now to evolve beyond the karma, whether it's genealogical karma from our ancestors, planetary karma, whatever it is. We truly are using this lifetime to clean up all of that. And I think as a collective, supporting one another, sharing instead of holding our insights to ourselves, we can do it. Move beyond the duality. You don't need to hold anything in. Our community is willing and open, and we want you to share with us your insights. We welcome that. And so this is such a blessing. Thank you. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. 11:11 my time.
Well, that's it. That's going to be the final word. I'm just going to add just simply our gratitude, well, to you, Christel, to you, everyone listening, and gratitude to the divine. On 11:11, that's where our heart goes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Until we meet again, many graceful blessings to you all. And goodbye now.
Bye-bye.